Hey, it's Paul from Fat Guy Productions coming to you today. And what I decided to do today is we're making some good headway on the Christie model, but a lot of the pieces need sanding and filling and things like that, stuff that video isn't going to do a lot of justice to. So we're going to put that off for a day or so because I just don't really feel like it. And so today I thought we would do the build on the Meng Sherman Tank. So without further ado, the Meng Sherman Tank. Here's the Meng Sherman Tank, and we've already done the unboxing, so there shouldn't be any surprises in here for us. Tread, decals. The Meng Sherman begins with the basics, starting with the wheels and bogies and the lower portion of the hull. It all goes together fairly easily. I do think, however, the plastic isn't normal styrene, as it seemed fairly hard to clean up the sprue attachment points, even after I changed my X-Acto blade. While the kit requires no glue, I chose to use some. I used Plastruct liquid glue and its bigger brush for large parts such as the hull bottom, and I used my Tamiya Extra Thin for more delicate parts, like attaching the bogies and making sure that I didn't get glue where I didn't want it. This seemed to work very well for me. The hull comes in several pieces that go together easily. Attaching the wheels is simple. After completing the lower portion of the tank, it's time to add the top. This is when the real fun begins. The top shell of the tank comes with many small parts. I had to break out the optivisor and get in close to get these parts in right. As much as I love the kit, I must admit that some of the smaller parts were tough for a guy who's getting older, can't see, and has big old hand fingers. For the most part, the turret went together easily. I did, however, find one problem. After trimming away the nub left by the sprue, I had a little gap. The problem was the perfection of the kit. As there was no flash to speak of, I had not been doing much cleanup or certainly no filling of seams. This caused me to overlook filling this little gap in my turret. Later, after the painting, I noticed the gap. It's going to drive me crazy, so I'm going to have to deal with it before I go to modulation. The hatch on the top of the turret can be positioned to open or closed. I chose to glue mine down. Now comes the fun part. Let's be perfectly honest. The crowning achievement in any armor build is putting the turret onto the bottom of the tank. We're finally at that point here, and putting the turret on the tank is just a great feeling and gives you a chance to see this amazing little kit come to life. This Sherman tank by Meng was such a fun kit. I will absolutely be building other kits from the World War Toons line. Hey, it's Paul. I'm back, and as you can see, I'm about to do the last thing here on the Meng tank. Put the treads on, and then she will be done. There we go. There's one, and here's two. Now, I will tell you, there's a couple things here. There was a little bit of flash, nothing to write home about, nothing to get your panties in a twist over. But I also noticed a weird thing, that there were some parts that just, like, there was nowhere in the instructions that told you to put these shovels on. You just had to realize, hey, I've got these holes here. So like I've got these holes in the turret here. Let's see if I have two more pieces that are supposed to go there. Yeah, there's supposed to be two grab handles there you know, you lose things in the instructions. So anyhow, I'll put those on in a second, but here is my little Meng tank. You see it rolls, the treads work, turret turns, cannon moves. I glued my hatch shut, but I think it's really cool. Some really tiny parts involved in it, but I had a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait to paint it. I'm going to give it an OD green paint job, and I think I'm going to try, I've never done any modulation in my paint jobs, so I think I might do it on this. Why not? It's a fun little tank. It should be fun, and it's a perfect place for me to experiment with that. So I'm going to try that, and I'll add that into this video as well. So until Hi, we're back, and we are done with the Meng Sherman Tank. I just loved this kit. I had a ball, and I've made some decisions here. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the video up here. The tank has got a base coat of paint. It's got the decals on it, and I'm going to do the review and the report card on the tank right here, right now, because we're going to come back with this tank in another video where we're going to do my first ever attempt at modulation, and I think that deserves an entirely different video. So we're going to wrap this up today by going to the report card. Okay, so without further ado, let's see how she fares. Okay, this is the Sherman Tank by Meng. It is made to look like one of the tanks out of the video game World War Toons. And I'm going to give it a finished grade of an A+. I think when this thing is done, it is just awesome. I love it. It is cool looking. It is fun. It is everything that model building should be. So absolutely, without a doubt, it gets an A+. Engineering, I'm going to give it an A. There's really not a lot to grouse about, you know. I think it was well designed and they did a good job, and I'm sure, you know, you could probably pick a spot here or there where you might want to improve something just a little bit, but generally speaking, let's go with an A. Molding, it's going to get an A- because I did find a little bit of flash. Not much to speak of. Nothing that really hurts you. But since there was a little bit, I can't give it anything better than an A-. Instructions are, it's going to get a C+. Now, I was torn between a B- and a C+, because this wasn't the end of the world, but there were some gaps in the instructions that left me scratching my head, like where the shovels went. They never mentioned putting them on there, and you got 2 holes on either side of the tank, and you have to go back and look at some of the pictures to figure out what's supposed to happen there. So C+ for instructions. Decals, it's going to get an A. I love the decals. They came off quickly and easily. They stayed together really nicely. They look fantastic on the model. And I love some of the handwritten stuff like the hash marks and the handwritten slogans. Okay, so now if you do some math and think of a traditional report card, an A+, an A, an A- and an A, and a C+ shouldn't add up to an A+, but that's the overall grade of this kit is an A+. This kit is an absolute winner. It's getting an A+ for me because I think the whole is more important than the parts. So it's an absolute A+ for me. This is everything that model building should be. I think that sometimes we get so wrapped up in all these details and techniques and stuff that we lose a little bit of the fun that model building is supposed to be. And this Meng tank takes you right back to having fun with your models. I highly, highly recommend it. If armor isn't your thing, they have a B-17, they have an aircraft carrier, and if you're more like into some of the German stuff, they have I know they have a Tiger, I think. So they've got a lot of little kits. I plan to get as many of them as possible and have them in my room here so that when I have a gap or I'm just bored or I just want to have some fun, I can whip out one of these little kits and enjoy it. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this video up right here because we're going to come back and revisit the Meng Sherman Tank in a video on modulation. It'll be my first time ever trying that technique, and I'm going to take you with me as I do it, and we'll see how it comes out. So for today, this is the end of this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, be good.